Was is er nou?
Bist du sicher wegen dem?
良い一日を。
Two outlaws on the lam, taking the back roads through America.
You can't drink enough coffee for this show.
And now it's time for Monday Madness with the Moped Outlaws, Greg and Mark.
Here we are, Moped Outlaws, riding once again, Greg and Mark solo this time, which it's interesting. We've had a long run of guests, Greg. It's been great, but truth is a lot's going on in each other's lives. We could interview each other, or we could just talk about time of the day. We could talk about how jealous I am of that latte that you're drinking.
Fuck yeah, look at that. That is a thing of beauty.
Oh my goodness.
You don't drink coffee?
I had some mushroom blend stuff that was supposed to not be coffee. And I was like, oh, this is great. Like I had a really productive day. And then when I looked at it, it's like, fuck, had caffeine in it. And I'm like, well, of course I got jazz on it, but it wasn't the freaking mushrooms. You know, like
wonderful caffeine.
It was mushroom blend masquerading as if the mushrooms had something like caffeine in them, but they didn't. But they did. I didn't need the mushrooms for the caffeine. The caffeine was secretly hidden in the realm of the mushrooms. And, you know, I had a good time, but I was like, can't eat this anymore.
Damn, that's awesome. So what are you going to do with it?
Oh, well, we had been given a little bit of it as a thing. Like, oh, our Kathy's friend was like, oh, this is great. I love it. Right. I quit coffee, and this is great stuff. And I'm like, really? And Kathy's like, yeah, we found this thing. It's caffeine free, blah, blah, blah. And then we were sad to tell her, we were like, oh, guess why you love it so much? It has caffeine in it. And she's like, oh,
damn. Hey, are you, one of us, I think, is experiencing internet issues.
Well, what I know is I did all the things.
Okay. That's because I also, what?
It is that day of the week and that time of the day where we have internet issues here in my neighborhood. There doesn't seem to be anything I can do about it because like last time we got together at a show, I did all the things, restarted the computer, restarted the modem. I mean, I could do a speed test right now and tell you what I'm running. Let's do that.
But, you know, like with Mari, who just went live on Monday, I noticed, like I said, you cut out at one point and you guys were like, what, really? And it actually didn't cut out when I listened to the recording. So it was me. It was on my end. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
So my speed test is currently telling me that I'm pushing 17 megabits per second upload. So
that's
theoretically, it's not me.
Yeah. All right. You know,
well, now that we've covered the signal of our broadcast, what's been happening with you? I heard you recently wrapped on a film project.
Oh, I wrapped a while ago. It was the premiere he showed of the short Rewind that I have a starring role in, which I'm very happy about and grateful for.
It's called Rewind?
Yeah, and it's spelled RYWIND. So Sunday, he invited cast and crew and some family to hang out at his home, have a barbecue, celebrate, and watch the premiere. And it was a wonderful day. My 3 children joined me, and first we went to Winchester Mystery House and did one of the tours there. And I always love going to that house. It's incredible.
Before we talk about that, let's stay on Rewind.
Rewind.
Got it. I understand why.
Rewind or rewind. So, and then we saw the premiere, and I was super stoked about the whole vibe. there's parts of my performance that I was like, oh, I wish I did that better. But there were also parts where I was sort of unnerved, where I was like, whoa, that kind of got me. So the editing was really good. And my eldest, she was like, because they offered to watch it again. My eldest was like, no, once was enough. And she doesn't like intense, scary stuff.
So it was scary. It's a scary thing. And what's the runtime on it?
Yeah, it's about 6 minutes. It's a short, I'd say like it's around.
So she wouldn't even sit through 6 more minutes.
Well, right. Like, she was like, that was too much for me. And there was like one point where I knew, I know the story, obviously, but this one thing, when it happened, I felt in my body an unnerving and, like a, whoa, a chill. So
it's effective as a drama.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
And I really love the premise. The premise is that an individual has created a crime. They murdered someone. That's it. I'm not going to say anything because if you watch it, then you watch it. So yeah, that was a wonderful experience.
Are we going to be able? Is the public going to be able to get at it anytime soon? How would we watch it, or the audience watch it?
So I've encouraged him to enter it into some short categories of film festivals, which he started doing. And I know from experience that festivals don't really want it out in the public realm. Like a festival of merit, they don't.
Yeah, they don't want people to just be able to go to YouTube and watch it. They want people to come to the festival.
Right. So
he's
we'll
holding
see.
it back.
What?
So he's holding back from public release while he sees if the festival circuit can get him any kind of accolades.
Right. And he's he did this project. He wants to launch a film company. In essence, he is launching a film company. So, I encourage him to do all the elements involved in that process, which film festivals is a part of that. So,
yeah. You're happy with your work overall.
Yeah.
And film itself is you're happy with too?
Stoked. Like, it's just fucking stoked to be given such a gift as to be the featured player in this story.
Got it.
And like my kids were kind of grilling me a little bit about, well, how do you feel? Blah, 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 blah. How are you feeling? Before we got there, afterwards. And as an artist, there's an element of trusting the feedback, because my critical mind is like doubling down, tripling down. And so there's a part of me that's like, and the feedback I received was A+.
Yay.
So yeah. And like I said, my own personal experience, like I was affected. My daughter was affected. So that's
it works.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. And what else have you got going as far as acting stuff? Anything in the hopper? Anything I
had a callback that I turned in a video for yesterday. I found out I owed $200 for the improv class I was taking at College of Marin, which surprised me because last time I went to their financial department expecting to pay money, they were like, no, you don't owe anything. I was like, oh, maybe somehow something processed through that I'm not aware of. And
then suddenly you got a bill.
Yeah. And
he thinks he owes us money. Send him an invoice.
Right. And when I was thinking I owed money, last time I went to College of Marin, it was like, $50, $60. So I wasn't expecting a $200 bill for one class.
Yeah. So by one class, you don't mean one night, right?
No, I mean like one semester. I took one class last semester, an improv. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. And what grade did you get? Or how do you want to talk about what grade you got?
The grades have not been released yet.
But
I got an A.
I'm sure you did. You're good on your feet.
And we had papers to write. Like it's a real college class, and I got all the points out of all the points on all 4 papers.
It's great. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks.
All right. And what's the main way that you go about getting auditions?
Casting board. So there's what is it called? I don't know. It's Casting Networks Inc. They have an online board based in LA and San Francisco. So I just stay on that to the best of my ability. And I would say the best of my ability, I give myself a C-.
So you're submitting here and there, and you have a reel, and
I don't quite have a reel yet. I have some video stuff, but it's interesting because for Rewind, I put it into IMDb, and when I put myself as an acting role, it's like, are you sure this person hasn't acted for 30 fucking years? And I was like, oh, so I'm starting something brand new. Like I'm really at the beginning of attempting to create an acting career.
Yeah, that's right. And that credit that you have for the film The Money Tree?
Yeah, 1992.
Yeah, 30 years. Wow.
The
That's
1900s.
When you put it that way, when marijuana was illegal.
Yeah, really illegal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for those of us for the people who are listening who have not seen The Money Tree, it's definitely worth a watch. It was a great movie, actually. I thought it was great. And Greg plays an artist, right?
Yeah, painter.
A painter.
Out on Forbes Island off the docks of Sausalito.
Yeah. Forbes is still around, right? Or did it get sold off? And
last time I saw it, it was a restaurant in the Fisherman's Wharf area. But I don't know if COVID fucked it up or I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Cool idea, though. Someone built this floating bargee that's basically got an engine, but they built it out with all kinds of landscaping and cool, housing and stuff on it. It was really cool.
He built an island and the house is underneath it, under the water, and he kind of fabricated it off 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Like it has that kind of vibe. If you ever saw that ancient...
There was sort of a steampunk vibe before we called it steampunk.
Kind of, yeah. Like, yeah. A little bit. It was pretty badass. So on the island is just like a palm tree and sand and, a little wooden dock. And you don't even know that there's a house underneath it.
All right. So you have to go down below decks into the depths.
Yeah. And we were able to secure that location via 2 cases of wine to Mr. Forbes.
That's awesome. Back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
The heyday of art.
Guerrilla filmmaking. Yeah. God, I got some filmmaking stories for a poor, broke, unknown old man. I could live off the steam of dreams for a while.
Yeah. I think I think you're talented, and I think it's a wonderful part of the adventure of the life that I've observed. And I love that you're still pursuing more. And it shows with this latest film, Rewind, that it's worth it to keep going. Colonel Sanders didn't start Kentucky Fried Chicken till he was in his mid-50s. So anything's possible.
That's what I hear, including death and taxes.
Nice.
Shit, there was something and now it's gone. So
see, caffeine isn't everything.
No, but old age is. It is. Oh, I know what it was. Did you ever see the documentary about Michael Jackson's show that he was in?
This is it.
This is it. Did you see that?
Yeah. In fact, I was just talking about it today with my girlfriend.
Oh, well. So do you recall when he was saying how he wanted to do this so his kids could see what he can do?
That part I don't remember, but I watched it twice when it came out, and it was really emotional to watch.
Well, that obviously stuck with me. And I got to say, like after last Sunday and the Rewind premiere, I have this in my gut, like this cornerstone of knowledge that my kids now know
What you're capable of.
what I'm capable of. Like that this fantasy of being an actor, it has some grounded merit to it.
Right. It's a thing you can do if you can persist at it and you keep working on it.
Right. Right.
And sometimes the success of it is the craft of executing it. It's not always the big monetary success story that we hear about. It's actually being an artist who creates the work, and then the work does what it does.
Right. I know. Maybe I'll be the Vincent Van Gogh of the podcast acting realm. I'll die, and 20 years later, the world will go, "Hey, that was pretty good."
Yeah. Yeah. I especially loved Moped Outlaws episode 237 when they crash through the door of that strip club and they find out it's all trannies that want to kill them. Can I say the word tranny? Is that a bad
we can
word?
say tranny. No, in fact,
trans person.
yeah.
Anyone who's trans who's listening, if the word tranny was offensive, then
to you, may
write
not
to me.
be. Yeah, but here's the thing. It may not be offensive to all transgender people. So you individuals who are offended, feel free to give us a call, 555-1212. That's 555-12-12. And hey, come on. Now we're just pushing the fire. Hey,
I like how you said we there.
that's all the personality.
I made a mistake, and I was trying to actually kind of at least reduce the impact because, of course, it's Pride Month when we're talking right now. And, I'll just say it, like, I worked with a client for 6 months who was transitioning, and I haven't talked a lot about this, but, most of what I do is men's work. And so I had this client, and they showed up, and we had agreed to work together because there were some issues around avoidance and procrastination. But 2 weeks in, this client announced they were transitioning, that they had decided to transition their sexuality. And so I went from this one approach to becoming someone who helped and coached someone move through this challenging, somewhat change in their life. And it was really rich and rewarding, one, to witness this person's courage and devotion to their ideal and themselves, and also to be aware of the fact that I could shift and pivot and be someone who stood with them, who helped them develop the kinds of, focus, determination, and stalwartness and communication skills that would help them move through that. I'm really, really grateful that I had the opportunity to give service to that human being, and it taught me a lot.
So, were you aware that this individual had this in their realm when you first started working with them?
No, when we first signed up, there was no indication that that's what we were going to end up working on. And then 2 weeks in, they dropped a bombshell.
Wow.
This is what's happening. And I was like, really? Wow. Okay. How do you feel about that? Like, is it presenting challenges in your marriage? Like, what's going on? And it just went from there.
Wow. So did the marriage stay together?
Nope.
Okay. So that did end the marriage, which happens. That is wild. That is wild. And what you said,
because I don't want to violate any confidentiality.
Right. Right. No, we don't have to delve into that individual's life, but you said you learned a lot. What's a key, chapter heading from your experience that you personally learned? Like, how did your, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's sort of reductive to try and encapsulate one thing. What I think would be the most illustrative or the best example was this thing that I embody with my clients, to show up and meet them where they're at and trust in their inherent brilliance, their inherent capacity to actually be the source of their own growth and be the source of their own excellence. And then whatever shape that takes, stepping into the proper posture that supports that reinforces that, and helps them create new habits that have them be able to sustain it without the coaching. Right.
And from your intimate viewpoint on this journey, do you now have a better understanding of an individual who is going through the sex change process? Because that's
So I learned about resources that I didn't know existed for people who are transitioning. I learned about support groups that are online and different, places that people can go and connect and talk about the challenges they're facing and get advice and, how to do makeup. And, there was a whole bunch of things that felt scary to this person. And one of the foundational aspects of coaching and growth in general is this idea of moving through fear into the place that lays beyond it, which is so rich with that sense of life affirming, energy, where it's like, okay, fear shows up and desire shows up with it. And when to the extent that you're able to move through the fear and navigate it without harming yourself or others, there's this rich experience that goes with it. And it doesn't really matter there's aspects of transitioning that are unique and that have very special kinds of danger. Like, it's literally life-threatening to do in certain areas of the world. But at the same time, it's this primordial sort of sense of, when it comes down to it, when you really think it through and you get connected to a clarity about what it is you want to achieve with your life, you can do it. That's profound. Whatever shape that takes, that's profound. And to witness that devotion and that clarity and dedication, and then also facilitate when we naturally want to, kind of shrink back into our fears, or we have something where someone was actually not nice to us, and how do we deal with that? And how do we stay centered and committed and not fall apart when we are, degraded by people's lack of compassion? There's a universality to that's awesome to witness and to facilitate. And one other thing I learned is I do not ever want to go through hair laser removal.
Yeah.
that is painful stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. So you're not going to hair laser your head?
No. Well, my head wouldn't need it.
Oh, really? I thought you have to shave your head, don't you? Still?
Well, parts of it I shave, but other parts I don't.
Right. So you're not going to laser.
No, it's more likely there's some new stem cell patches that I've heard of that I could actually finally have another head of hair. Like, there's some plant-based stem cells patches that I've heard of that would actually restore the hair on my head. So, but I'm happy with a smooth head. I've come to like it. Plus, one day they're going to remake the Addams Family, and I'm going to get to play Uncle Fester. Yeah, you will.
You know what they say? Smooth head is a practice head. Wait a second. But here's the thing. I do think joking is a sign of love. Teasing and joking is a sign of love. And we're both well aware of the razor's edge of comedy. But it's what I'm going back to is at the beginning of this conversation, you believe you made a mistake in saying tranny. And I would say that's not a mistake, generally speaking. There may be an individual that is affected by that word. And I hope they take responsibility for the way they feel. And we can take the responsibility for the consequences of our words.
Agreed. And I tried to restore integrity right away when I realized that I had used a word that could cause harm. And not that that's something I should avoid or I should feel bad about or any of that, but just that, like, being conscious of how we use language can be very helpful to avoid causing others suffering. And there's a fine balance there, because on the one hand, I don't want to live in a world where people are policing my language at a level that I feel restricted or impeded. And at another level, I feel, just as a human being, like I want to be aware and ready to pivot around the use of language that I might have a blind spot around.
Yeah, I guess it's interesting because the only word that I'm aware of in my vocabulary that I won't say is the N word. All other words kind of are okay with me.
Tranny, banny, fo fanny, panny, danny, cookanny, nanny, fanny, annie, ganny.
Yeah, a tranny fanny can be quite handy.
Do you have a pair of drumsticks in your hand?
I do, yeah.
Let's see them. There they are. Play us a riff on the desk. Awesome. Are you picking up drums? Is that something you want to do?
Well, I guess the answer to that is yes, as is evidential experience.
But are you actually practicing and learning your rudiments, or what's happening?
No, but I was a drummer at points in my life.
Oh, I remember seeing you behind the kit and jamming with you.
There you go. So
you're not half bad.
Thanks.
You're really bad.
I wish I could argue with that.
It was actually fun. I'd like to do it again. In fact, the studio is available. Comes with a drum kit. So if you want to go up there and bang on some drums with me sometime, we could do that.
Well, I'm considering putting a band together, and
Nice.
I would call it Chair, and our first release would be Rockin'.
Rockin' Chair.
And then there could be Bar and
Chair Bar.
Bar, and yeah. And anyway, but
that's kind of like the band my friend wants to put together, called the Hot Flashes.
Your friend sounds like they're feminine.
Yes.
Female.
I almost spit out my my nutrient drink there.
Your mushroom juice.
It's not mushroom juice. This is just electrolytes.
All right. So how about you? What are you working on your CD?
I haven't done any work on my solo record in almost 3 months. I've been really, really focusing on business development, and then playing in this band called the Upbeats, which is just a cover band. But there's 2 more Lumination gigs. Lumination is the reggae band that I have co-founded, and with a lot of original music. And so we're playing a festival called the Fairfax Festival, and then we're playing a gig at a place called Perry's in Fairfax. And that's going to be fun. That's in the month of June. And so I'm back in the rehearsal mode with that, just to make sure that everything's, and that's fun.
Is Jen playing both gigs?
Yep. Jen is our bass player. So she's in both shows. At the festival show, her band Generator plays, and then we follow Generator right after she plays. So she's going to get quite the workout. She's got her set to do, and then she's got our set to do. And it'll be nice because once she sets up her gear, she can take a break during the changeover. She won't have to do anything. She won't have to set up her gear. Yeah. And it's funny because she's like, can we play that song I wrote in the set? And because it's kind of like one of those things where Jen is a songwriter, and in Illumination, she hasn't had anything really that got put into the set. But last year, when we did the festivals we did last year, we put her song in because it's kind of a reggae song. And so she wanted, like, she was saying to us, like, let's have that in the set. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And I there was a little pushback from other factions in the band, not like legitimate resistance, but just kind of like, really, like, are we sure? And it dawned on me that I was like, well, wait, Jen, like, you're going to play that song in your set, right? So just do that. Right? Not that we don't want to, but you're already going to play it, right? Like, it's part of her set. She's like, yeah, I guess you're right. And I'm like, so, you know, and the sad thing is I like it. I like that song and I'd like to jam with her on it, but she didn't say, why don't you sit in with me on my set? That offer didn't happen. But we do have some special guests because our guitarist Tim can't make the Fairfax Festival show. So we have Tom Finch, who's an amazing player.
Wow.
He's in Big Brother Nolan Company and the Woolburys, you know, Traveling Woolburys cover band. And
Jim Tally Up.
Yep, he's Tally Up. Really amazing guitar player. And so he's going to sit in with us. And they have some other special guests. We have Charles Moselle, who is taking a break from his feature film, a production that he's working on, which is a story of his life, which is very interesting. He took years traveling in Africa and using music as a way to create healing. And he did a lot of different programs with different tribes and communities there. And there's this whole life that he lived there and this whole impact that he made that a lot of people who live around him in the Fairfax area just don't really know much about. And it's going to be a feature film. It's being probably going to be out on a major studio distribution and all that. And he's been busily working on that. And he's breaking away on that to come play. And what I love about working with him is a great modality in terms of the way he puts notes together on the saxophone. But he also plays these really cool, different wood flute instruments. And he's a really great throat singer and beatboxer, you know, but he combines it with beatboxing. So it's like, and I'm doing a terrible job of it, but it's really amazing to witness. It's really cool. Like,
is he going to do some of that in your show?
I don't know. He usually just drops it in wherever he feels like it. I have no idea, but this version of Illumination is really Illumination All-Stars in a way, because there's so many different members that are going to be part of the scene. And I love that. I love that it's going to be like I know Tom Finch is amazing and he probably could sit down and pick up all of Tim's parts, not too hard, but I don't know that he's going to. And I like that idea of him coming up with fresh melodic ideas just for this show. And because I'm particularly fond of jam band style, and I'm not really deep into like the note has to sound like the record, right? I mean, there's some of that, which I think is good. But generally speaking, I'm really looking forward to the sonic possibilities that could come up. I'm glad we only have an hour and 15 minutes, but it's going to be fun.
Well, yeah, you got the Perry show, and that's going to be a full night.
That'll be a full night, and we'll have the usual suspect for that. We probably have Charles for that because he's been the guy we've been using on sax lately. And then we'll have Tim Mack and Jim Talley will be on keyboards for both shows.
Oh, really?
Jim wasn't originally going to do the Perry show, but he recently said he would. So I'm looking forward to that.
Very, very cool. And when is Perry's?
June 24th.
Okay. And Fairfax Festival?
That is June 10th.
Ooh, next weekend.
So you probably won't be hearing this podcast before that. It'll have already happened. So let me just say, it was awesome. That part where we all improvised, that's amazing.
I like when you guys came out and tried.
And I did, and no one suspected.
I like the reggae drag thing you did.
Yeah.
Reggae drag.
The part where I played that Frampton sound, the talk box over my solo on
That was
wow,
awesome.
wow, 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 wow.
What's do you know how the Rastafarians view transgender elements of life?
God, I wouldn't want to speak to that at all. I have no way of knowing. Everything I say about that would just be projection and supposition.
Okay.
I mean, I think if you look at indigenous cultures as a broader subject, there's a lot of information that shows that there were what they call two-hearted people, or people
two-spirit,
yeah.
But that's
so I think anything that's grounded in natural phenomena, i.e., that's earth-based, as opposed to some kind of institutional religion, probably has some way of accounting for it and, recognizing it. In fact, a lot of the indigenous understandings I have, those types of people, somewhat different, neurodivergent, however you want to term it, tended to have higher places, spiritual places in tribes because of their uniqueness. They had insights into humanity that we normies didn't.
And
does Judaism talk about it much?
What?
Do you know if there's anything in Judaism about it?
I don't. I don't know that it's even mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know much about Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah. That I'm very unfamiliar with.
Yeah, me too.
So, what about the cover band? What's the name of that band?
The Upbeats.
Upbeats. Are you guys applying for any of the things like the festivals that are around Marin?
Well, our drummer was threatening to talk about to various club owners, but he was super shy about it. For whatever reason, he was like, "Oh, I don't want to approach them until blah, blah, blah." And we're like, dude, just get over yourself. Just ask, right? And recently, the sister of our bass player started playing bass more, Tomas' sister. And so Tomas and I have started sharing more guitar. He's playing more guitar and keyboards. And she has a boyfriend who was like, "Well, I'll book you guys." And so in the last 3 weeks, he's been anointed the official booking agent. We don't have much in the way of demos to share with people. We've been doing some videos at rehearsals, but I haven't seen them and seen how they sound or how they look. My sense of an iPhone at rehearsal would not be very convincing to me as a club owner. But don't know, right?
I think it could be.
There's a club that was called Jerry's in Novato that closed, that reopened, and I don't remember their new name right now. But I spoke to the waitress when I was there, and they gave me the skinny on how to approach their person who books the music there. And I haven't had time to go down on a Monday or Tuesday to meet with them and do that. But I'm going to go down and do that. It's fun. The band's pretty good. It's nothing that I would sell at a high level, but I love doing it, and they're worth bopping around to. Like if you're hanging out, drinking some wine or having a beer, and it's good music, and it's all music you've heard before. So
I saw some openings at the 4th Street Fair, where San Rafael closes down 4th Street for like 4 blocks on
is that
Thursday
like the
and Friday night?
Oh.
So on Thursday night, what?
They're doing that again?
Yeah, they've been doing it for a while. They get shut down for COVID, but yeah. So I saw some TBAs on there.
Yeah, we're not in the running for those, as far as I know.
Yeah, but you could be.
Well, most booking is running 90 days out. Like most people already know who's playing when 3 months out. So
I'd hit him up.
summertime is pretty much booked by this
Hit
point.
him up. No, that's not booked. Hit him up. Tell your booker. Check out the street festival in San Rafael Thursday night.
All right.
And also
I'll do
second Fridays. They have a second
that.
Fridays and a Thursday.
All right.
Every
I'll do that.
Thursday. Right on. Right on.
You are the
And-
notes beneath my wings.
And there's like the farmers market on Sunday at the Civic Center.
Oh, do they have live bands?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Yeah. So that's what's happening musically. Yeah.
How are things going with? Hey, did you finish that book about business that you were reading?
Which one?
That was
I'm
the
reading
one
several.
about.
There's one called The Prosperous Coach that I'm
No.
still reading
No,
through.
this one was like about creating a business. You said about.
Well, I must have finished it because what I'm reading is The Prosperous Coach.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, as far as interesting things, there's this book I'm in called Star Wars Legions.
All right.
And Star Wars Legions is a book about a project that happened where Lucasfilm picked a bunch of different artists to send blank stormtrooper, white blank stormtrooper helmets to paint. And then they created an exhibit, and it was all, then they auctioned them off for charity. And I did one, and it's in the book. This is the one I did right here for those of you who.
Well, that's awesome. Oh,
Right?
that's very cool. Yeah.
That's the one I did. And, you know, honestly, there's a bunch much better stuff. Like the one I did, not as great. Like there were some really creative, like just look at like the stuff that people did. Like that one's pretty awesome.
Pretty
Right.
badass. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some great stuff in here. But I'm at to be in a book with my artwork. That's pretty cool.
And yours is good, you know, like
Yeah.
that was a very
It's cool.
clever choice.
Yeah,
Creative.
I'm proud of my work. It made it. It's on par. It's in the book, right? But
Yeah.
so that was fun to see that come out because the actual exhibit was in 2016, 2015. So it was a long time ago. And then the book came out a few years back, but I hadn't heard that I wasn't told that I was in the book until recently. And so I bought the book. And what's cool about it is the book comes, if you buy the book with the special deal, you get another blank Stormtrooper helmet to do some other artwork with. So I have another blank. And I was I've been thinking about, how would I do it now that I've seen what's possible, people carving it and adding things to it? What would I do next? And so I've just been letting that percolate. Like sometime this summer, I'll dive in and I'll do another one.
We could have like as a sort of a element of our Blue Highways recordings of seeking the artists in the book and getting them to sign their page. Like you could sign yours first as a beginning. And
that's an interesting idea. The names are here, but tracking down where they are, that'd be tricky. Like this is great. Like this one got 2 pages because it's Stormtrooper in carbonate, like the Solo in carbonite, right? There's some great stuff in here. But of course, like I'm looking at it and it says Jay Schuster and Trooper in carbonite. And it doesn't say where Jay Schuster is.
But is
Like
there an
there's-
index in the back with all the artists?
No. Nope.
Well, that'd be part of the adventure is figuring out. Like,
Here's the Stormtrooper taco truck.
oh, that's badass. That's fun. Tacos Imperia.
Tacos Imperial.
Imperial.
Right. Oh God. And here's another one. It's the it's an exploding design, right? And
It looks
there's
like oh
looks
really?
kinda like
So, and it's Darth underneath. That's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
yeah.
That's pretty cool. Reminded me of what was that?
Hellraiser.
Hellraiser, yeah.
Yeah, and here's one that's kind of like
Dia de los Muertos.
right.
Very cool.
So yeah, that was fun to realize I was in that book because, and also going down to LA for the exhibit was fun too. Like a bunch of us got invited to bring our stuff down there, and I probably could have done a better job of networking with those guys. It would have been fun to get everybody's name and address and be in contact with all those guys. But
well, that'd be part of the, like, some people will be easy to find, some will be hard. Do you have any contacts at Lucas, or is there a
the art director on the book is someone I know, and he could probably get me some of them.
See, so yeah.
All right, well, one part of the thing we could do for the Blue Highway is maybe we'll see. It's LA would be a big part of where that stuff is, I'm sure, where the people are, but it's also not. It's like all over, like New York and like Chicago. The art director sent him out to the best artists he knew.
All right, then we got to get very wealthy so we can take at least a year to get on mopeds and travel around to where we need to go to get these artists to sign the book.
I love the idea of like riding our mopeds up onto a sailboat, taking the sailboat to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And riding around on Hawaii, talking to people, talking about how horrific the invasion and stealing of Hawaiian land was.
I was thinking about that, though. There's an element like of the indigenous people of North America. We don't know what brought them to this parcel of land.
Continue that thought, Greg.
Okay.
Where's that going?
It's going to, like, I'm not for stealing and killing and raping and pillaging and mastery over another individual. But I was thinking of just from a very migration viewpoint of people leaving one place and looking for a better place to live. That could be the impetus that brought people here in the first place.
Well, there were Indian wars where they fought each other for territory. I mean, that's real.
Right, right. But what I'm saying is to say this is our land. Well, I don't think that's relevant. It is our land if you're inclusive. What?
It's not for you to say whether indigenous people's claims to the land is valid or not.
It actually is. I've been put in charge. Everyone's going to be free.
Arbiter of historical relevance for cultural territories.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Historical relevance. Like, we know that people migrated over the Bering Strait when it was frozen over. Well, we have a good hypothesis that that's real.
Right.
Like, we don't, the original.
They also migrated up from South America.
They also migrated out of the womb of the snake. That's what I'm saying. Originator stories. Like, we don't know the origination. So let it go. Let go of ownership of origin. Because we don't know.
Stand with you there. I can't stand with you there. I'm not going to die on that hill with you.
I can wait here in the truth until you catch up.
Okay. All right, white man.
Everyone's going to be
I think your point is well taken at a certain level. Like, I get it. Like, right. It's kind of like saying the Jews were slaves in Africa, right? Like, there's like, well, how do we know? Right. So, but I don't want to be what ifing or how do we knowing into a corner that's already populated with trannies with pitchforks and knives who want to kill us.
Let them in.
I think we can do better than that. I think we've set a standard for ourselves that is reflective of us doing better than that. And, that's part of the challenge. Having the conversations.
Like standards to be underwater vehicles. Substandard.
Submarine mopeds.
Substandards.
Substandards. Oh my God, you're hilarious. You always take it to the depths. It never fails.
I'm here for you.
R2D2R.
Your father I am.
Oh my goodness.
Hey,
Excuse me.
do you know that 10cc album, How Dare You?
No, I know who 10cc is, but I don't know that album.
That's a very excellent album.
Yeah. I wonder how they got their name.
I think 10 cc's is the weight measurement that when a person dies, supposedly their body shifts 10 cc's.
That's the weight of the spirit that leaves the body?
Right.
Well, 10 cc's is a measurement of volume. It's not a measurement of weight.
Right. Well, good point.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the amount of
I had
heroin.
theory that it was right or liquid speed that you would inject. Like, I don't know. Because they definitely have that vibe, like maybe the hippie era of speedball bands, which I guess grew up to be punk bands.
10 cubic centimeters, a volume of semen that was more than the average amount ejaculated, thus emphasizing their potency or prowess.
Oh, wow. So it was neither of us knew what it was, and it was way more shocking and interesting than we thought. And I just imagine, like, the plaster casters. Remember them? Do you remember them?
Oh yeah, of course.
So those of you who don't know, those were a group of women who went around and took plaster casts of all the great rock star penises. So I'm guessing that the plaster casters helped name 10cc, given that that's the definition.
Maybe. Well, sir.
I think that's a good spot to leave it. We went down as far as we could through the subterfuge and ended with, the plaster.
I don't know if going down and talking about semen should be in the same sentence.
Recording stopped.